Hi there, my name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu, and I was going through my saved patterns this week and realized there are quite a few patterns that I absolutely love, but I know myself well enough to know that I'm probably never going to make them. Either they're completely impractical for my life, they would take me approximately 17 years to knit, or I just can't really see myself wearing them. So I thought we could have a little look at some of those today. A couple of weeks ago, we were basically talking about how to make better decisions. So this video can be about all the terrible decisions I would love to make. So let's get to it, shall we? And the first pattern on my list is the Stria cardigan by Andrea Mowry. It is stunning. It has stripes, which I love, it's fingering weight, which I also love, but you know what else this cardigan features? All over fisherman's rib. And that means working each row basically twice. And you know the row gauge of the Stria? 50 rows per 10 centimeters. At this point, it doesn't even feel like a hobby anymore. This is almost a part-time job. But it sure is gorgeous. It looks very wearable, comfy, easy to style. It has a raglan construction, so basically the perfect cardigan. Except that I have to knit it. Am I prepared to spend approximately 6 years or maybe even decades knitting this? I don't think so. But it would be wonderful if a Stria magically appeared in my wardrobe. 100% would love that. Maybe one day this will happen, but that day is not today, which brings me to the complete opposite of the projects my rational brain won't let me make spectrum, which is a color. And I'm talking about colors in general, but the Cloud Dancer color by Sari Nordlund is one that immediately comes to mind. It has a gorgeous wavy lace pattern and faux cables, and it looks so romantic and delicate, but I bet I would feel as if I were wearing a bib. Or maybe about to go into a courtroom. So I know myself well enough to know that I would never ever wear something like this. But it's so pretty. It's just not like me and my wardrobe. I cannot pull off a look like this. But I would love to knit this for someone else so I can have fun but not feel guilty about not wearing it later. The problem is I don't have many knit-worthy people around me that I think would wear a color like this. I saw a project page where a knitter styled this color over a trench coat, and maybe I could get behind that. I can at least picture it in my mind, which is something at least. And since we are talking about Sari Nordlund, who's the queen of gorgeous and intricate stitch patterns that are to die for, there's another pattern of hers that lives rent-free in my head, which is the Champagne Pullover. I mean, I don't even need to explain anything. Just by looking at the picture, it's an absolute showstopper that I absolutely should not make. This beauty features lace and cables all over the sweater, which I normally love, and I love it in here also. But this is such an intricate stitch pattern that if knitting the Stria would take me 6 years, I would need a life coach just to get me through this project and not let it turn into a UFO, because that would be a shame. This project deserves to live out in the world and not be hidden at the bottom of the abandoned projects pile, so I never cast it on, and I probably never will. I would love to make this, but I value my remaining sanity, you know? Not to mention that I think I would literally cry if I made a mistake in this stitch pattern. There's no way I would know how to fix an issue without frogging the entire row. And while I feel confident about not casting on the champagne pullover anytime soon, I need to borrow this energy to talk about the famous sequin dress project. If you've been here a while, you know my hands are itching to cast one on, and I'm doing my best not to because, let's face it, my life is not interesting enough to have a sequin dress in my closet. And the one I can't stop dreaming about is the Camille Dress by Kolibri by Johanna. It's a knee length that has long sleeves and a V-neck that can be worn either in the front or on the back, and I love the dark red sample. I have a thing for red that is pretty well established by now, but I also love the light pink one with bluish sequins as well. It would be spectacular but completely useless in my actual life. And there's another sequin dress, I think by Lepo, that is sleeveless and also very pretty, but that one gives me more night out at the club energy rather than fancy party. They're both pretty, but my eyes are fixed on the long sleeved idea. But if I showed up at my family's Christmas celebration wearing a dress like that, my brother would say, "Why are you dressed like that?" My niece would try to pull the sequins out, and it would be such a mess. And there's also the process of knitting with sequin yarn, which I've never tried. I don't know how fiddly it is to work with a yarn like that, or if it's not that different from regular yarn, let's say. So I could dread picking this project up, you know? I'm waiting to receive an invitation in the mail to a really fancy party just so I can justify casting this on. And at this point, I've even thought about needing a black version, trying to convince myself that it would be more wearable. But who am I kidding? Even in black, a sparkly dress like that would stand out in my wardrobe. But at least there's a good point in this whole I want to knit a sequin dress saga, which is the cost of the Camille dress. This pattern is written for 2 strands of mohair plus 1 strand of the sequin yarn, and if I made the math right, and I refuse to double check and risk being wrong, for my size, this project adds up to a little over 160 euros. And do I want to spend that much money on a single project? I do, but I don't. That's a lot of money on something I can't justify having in my closet, at least for now. So that's keeping me from casting this on at the moment. Hopefully, I will get invited to this really fancy party soon. That would be amazing. Alright, let's jump to something much less stressful in my head now and talk about intricate socks. I also don't have a specific pattern in mind here, but I'm talking about those socks that feature cables or lace or even collar work all over. Anything more intricate than simple ribbing is not for me, but they are so stunning. They look so cozy and cute. You know, sit by the fireplace wearing a sock like that with a cup of steaming hot tea, pick up a book, have a blanket draped over my legs. I can see the entire picture in my head. I just can't knit the socks. Socks like that are not for me, but I so wish they were. There are so many gorgeous sock patterns out there, but I find it so much work to knit collarwork socks, for example. I have just a couple of really simple stockinette socks in my drawer that I don't ever wear because I'm afraid of damaging them if I wear them with shoes or if they get stained somehow. So now even my basic stockinette socks I never wear. So imagine these gorgeous, intricate projects. They would become decor in my sock drawer, and that's sad. That is just sad. Alright, enough about socks. Let's go back to garment knitting because I need to talk about the Jupiter Crop Tee by Caitlin Hunter. It's a colorwork tee that is worked at a sport weight gauge, and the recommended yarn is Rosa Pomar Vovó, which is a yarn I would love to try one day soon. I've only used Mondin by Rosa Pomar, and I really loved it, so I would love to try more bases from them. But guys, this is a colorwork tee. An absolutely stunning colorwork tee, but it's still a colorwork tee. And when would I wear it? It makes no practical sense for me. I feel like it would probably feel too warm for summer, too cool for winter without long sleeves, and even in the spring and autumn, I would probably still want long sleeves most days. And yes, I could modify it to have long sleeves, but I love the look of the short sleeves. It just doesn't make sense for where I live, I think. The colorwork motif is so pretty and the color palette is perfect, but I can't see myself wearing this in the summer. I can't. Maybe if I knit this for someone who lives in a place where they get milder summers compared to my little corner of the road, that could be a nice compromise. I just need to find that person. And now let's keep the colorwork theme going with the antique Flora sweater by Wool and Pine. I discovered this pattern when Leslie from A Friend to Knit With here on YouTube talked about hers. Now I don't remember if she was knitting it or if she just talked about the sweater she was wearing, but anyway, there was something about the beige she chose paired with a red for the colorwork motif that immediately caught my eye. Actually, when I look at the pattern photos, they used a color changing yarn for the color work, and to me it made the entire yoke look so busy that I have a hard time seeing myself wearing this sweater. But I love, love, love the projects that used solid colors. It looks like something I would immediately notice if I saw someone walking down the street in a sweater such as this one, but maybe because of exactly that, or maybe I'm being influenced by the bold pattern photos, I don't think I could pull this off. I don't know, I just don't feel stylish or fashionable enough to wear something like this a sweater, so I never cast it on and probably never will, I guess. Not to mention that this colorwork yoke is a lot of work. Stunning, but a lot of work nonetheless. Alright, and I have one last colorwork dream project that's always crossing my mind, which is the sport sweater by Ventzel. The pattern photos feature classic solid colors, but a lot of knitters chose to knit this sweater using many, many contrast colors, building a gradient, mixing different color families, and there are so many gorgeous and fun versions of this sweater in the projects tab on Ravelry. This looks so classic and cozy, and I would absolutely love to have it in my closet, but can you imagine the color management of a project like this one with so many colors to mix and match? It would be a dreamy FO, but a nightmare of a project to me. I can already see myself getting stressed out just by thinking of the color management for this sweater. I always overthink every single decision multiple times before I commit to the most simple details on a project. So a sweater like this would make me lose sleep. No doubt, it would destroy me. Now moving on to another dreamy sweater that will probably always remain a dream and to never make it onto my needles, the Fern Sweater by Irene. This is all over lace knit at a fingering weight gauge, which is fine. But the lace pattern looks so delicate and beautiful that I would be scared of destroying it, so I would never wear it. The same details that catch my heart are the ones that drive my rational brain away. The lace looks delicate. The balloon sleeves are so pretty, but they also look like they could get caught on any zippers, a wood splinter on a restaurant dinner table, or any other potential danger and just rip. The light and airy look is what makes this sweater look so nice and romantic and makes me want to cast it on, but it is also very see-through and I would always need to wear something underneath like a tank top or something, which would not only defeat the airy and breezy effect a bit, but I also find those tops so uncomfortable to wear. I really need to find some better ones actually, preferably made with cotton, but in the meantime, the last pattern I have to share with you guys today is I have no idea how to pronounce this, Bao Bao Shawl by Isabell Kraemer. I have no rational argument against it, which is dangerous because this is absolutely beautiful and it looks not only nice to wear, but also really fun to knit. We can choose just two colors or pick as many leftovers as our heart desires, but I can't see myself casting this on. Maybe because I don't currently have a clear picture of the color palette I want for a shawl like this, or maybe I need to be inspired by the yarn. I don't really know. It looks so wearable and comfy to wrap around myself on a chilly fall night, you know? Maybe one day I will wake up and feel today is a Bao Bao day. I'm so sure I pronounced that wrong. But for now, this one lives on my dream knits list. Alright, those are the 10 projects that will probably continue living rent-free in my brain instead of on my needles, although I wouldn't completely trust myself with that statement. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!